Hi everyone, my name is Perry and I'm going to show you quick how to use NearPod for the mobile learning design that I'm doing for this week. The first thing we're going to do is the teacher is going to go to nearpod.com on the laptop, or they can definitely use an iPad, and honestly I recommend to use an iPad because then the teacher is more mobile. But this is how it would look if the teacher was using their laptop. I'm going to use my personal iPad to show what the student view would be. So as the teacher, I'm going to go into my library, and I have a multitude of lessons here. So many actually. They're all pretty much math related. Some of them I've actually created. This one right here and this one I made. But the one that I'm going to do today is actually a virtual field trip. And this one's called New Year's Fireworks. I have an option to do live lesson or student paced. So for the lesson design that I'm actually planning, I would click student paced because then the student has the control over their learning and the pace of their learning. And this is typically used for like a traditional homework type lesson, but I'll show you how to use it in the live lesson. That's what I typically use. So I clicked live lesson. It gives me a pin. And so if I was in the classroom doing this lesson, I would put this pin on the board. One of the fun things I like to do is I like to say it twice without writing it to see how many people log in without having to see it written on the board, just as like a little fun activity to see who's paying attention. But that's kind of a side note. So once I give the pin, the students would use their iPads to go onto the NearPod app. All right. I do not want push notifications. And they do not need to sign in or anything. If students use NearPod frequently, that could be beneficial, so then they don't have to type in their name every time, but it's not that important. All they need to see is that there's an enter lesson pin, and that's where they would type in the 5-digit or letter code. So for us, it's GLAZS, join. So at this time, they can see what the lesson's going to be, and this one is that math NearPod virtual reality called New Year's Fireworks. That downloading presentation, it typically happens almost every time, but it doesn't take too long, and it's plenty of time because everyone takes a little while to log in, and you can introduce the lesson a little bit. But I want to show you what the teacher and student view looks like at the same time. So let me get this going. Sorry if I'm making anyone dizzy. All right. So I can click out of that. I've got my teacher mode up on the laptop, my student mode here, and each student needs to sign in with their name. So I'm going to use my initials here, PVB. And once I've signed in, then I can come back to that title slide. And as the teacher, I can see who's signed in. I can see that one person is signed in. It's only going to be me and my name. So if you have some people missing, or you want to call out some good friends that are logging in very quickly, you can do that there. All right, and we're going to get started. So the teacher can introduce, they can start the slideshow. You can see all of the slides in this view here. So let's say I wanted to skip this materials and preparation slide. The students don't need to see that. So I don't need to press next. I can just actually click the slide that I want the kids to see, and I can press share. And when I do that, the student slide is the same. So the students are not able to go forward or backwards. Oh, I got my notifications going here. The students aren't able to go forwards or backwards. They are stuck on that slide because this particular lesson is teacher paced. All right. So it says, let's get started. When the teacher presses next, the student slide will change. There's only a tiny delay there. All right, and the directions say we are going to explore a fireworks show in Dragør Harbor, Denmark, to practice our algebra skills. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. So it gives some brief directions. The teacher can choose whether to read them or to have the students read them. And it says time to explore. So this is the virtual reality portion. And I'm not going to show you the teacher mode because it looks a little bit different. But I'm going to pick up the iPad and I want to show you what happens. All right. It looks like it's stuck on something. It's still loading. Sorry about that, wait. So the virtual reality portion of the NearPod lessons that are provided are very, very cool. They're very engaging because, as I'll show you in a minute, as I move my iPad around, I'm looking around like a 360 scene. And I'm able to look at what I want to look at. And there is a different lesson that we're not doing right now, but it's walking on the moon. So if the students want to explore what's on the moon, they can walk forward and go forward. They can look up. They can look to the side. Okay, it looks like we're all loaded. So my iPad is pointing down. So clearly I'm looking at the ground. We've got some snow footprints. I'm picking up my iPad. All right, I'm picking it up. I'm lifting it up so that this is kind of pretty much eye level. I can see there's a house in front of me. Still snow on the ground. I'm turning it to the side. There's another house. Okay, but I want to look up into the sky and I see some fireworks, which is pretty darn cool. This is kind of hard to do with my phone here. And I'm going to look around and I can see the fireworks in the sky. All right. So it has the ability to go a full 360 all around me and above me. And it's very cool. The students get really engaged in that. So they could have some time looking through this scene and the teacher can press next, or in the lesson that I'm designing, the students actually have an unlimited amount of time because it's student paced. But when they're ready, they would come to this next slide. It says read the word problem and then solve it below. So I click on this image here. It says the city spent $250 for each white firework, $300 for the blue and turquoise fireworks, and $150 on the reddish fireworks. Without knowing how many fireworks there are, create an equation that will help us calculate how much was spent on the fireworks show. So in this space, they would write or draw out their reasoning. As I've mentioned in my design plan, they do need to have somewhat of a knowledge on using variables for unknown numbers. So hopefully they would catch on to that, and they can use X, Y, Z, or usually I've taught my students to use variables that correlate with what they're talking about. For example, for white firework, use W, blue, maybe use B, and for red, use R. So hopefully they would have that. I'm going to do an undo on that. 250 times however many white fireworks plus 300 times however many blue, and I think it was 150 times however many red would be, and they might not know what to do here. They might not know if it's an equation, if it's an expression, so maybe they'd just leave it here. Maybe they'd write total cost. This is what makes it a little bit more open-ended because the question did specifically need this multiplication with the variables and adding those sums together, or those products together rather, but it leaves it a little open-ended, which can guide the teacher to what the students are thinking. So if you'll see, I'm the student working out my problem. The teacher, since I'm the only student, that's the only box that is showing. It says awaiting drawing. That's because I have not sent it yet. So once I press send, confirm, do you want to send this drawing? And funny story on that, I started using NearPod about 4 years ago, And the students would always accidentally press send, and then it would close them out from continuing the drawing, and they would just rest their hand on it and it would close out. They would get really frustrated. So I actually called NearPod and told them that, hey, they keep accidentally pressing send. Can we add like a confirmation button? And they were very welcome to do that. And so they did that. So yes, I want to send this drawing. And on my teacher screen, there is a tad delay. But on my teacher screen, I will start seeing students submitting their drawings. So if you'll see, mine has been submitted. It took only a few seconds, and I can see very clearly what the student has written. Sometimes if the student writes a little smaller, you can click on it to see it in a bigger screen. And after I've submitted my drawing as a student, I get a thank you. If this is a live session where the teacher is in control of the pace, they would have to wait. So after a while, I learned to have other things on the board for the students to do, or just things in my classroom that they could do to wait for the rest of the students, but it's not that big of an issue. If you'll see on my teacher screen, I have the option to share this particular student's response. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to click share, and right when I did that, it's going to show that student's response. So yes, it was me, but let's say that my friend Johnny next to me maybe worked out a better equation, and then the teacher could share that for everyone to see as an example. Or the teacher could say, okay, what's wrong with this picture? I've done that before. That has to be done kind of carefully because we don't want to squelch any student emotion there. All right, we're going to go to the next slide. This says, do you think your city would ever spend that much on fireworks? So this is actually a free response question, and students can type in their answers. I'm going to do a simple yes, but the teacher should encourage students to type a little bit more than that. And again, the teacher can share student responses. So it says PVB wrote yes. Usually it's a longer answer, and I can share it. If it's a really good explanation, I like to do that. So that was a really quick NearPod. A lot of these NearPod presentations are found online, and they do come at a small price. There are a bunch that are free, but what I've found is that it's well worth it. I keep them and I use them year after year. And also I have the ability to add or take away things that I want to add or not use in a provided lesson. I've also expanded to creating my own. The students love it. When the students know that there's a NearPod that day, they get really excited. So I wanted to share that with you. I really hope that you can get onto NearPod and explore a little bit because it's a really great resource. The last thing I want to show you is the printout of the student work that gets sent to the teacher every time. So I clicked on the NearPod logo up there. Sorry if this is a little hard to hear, but something that I can do, I just ran out of my gold membership, but as a gold member, I can just add very quickly a blank feature, a draw it, or a slide, or a true and false, which is very, very cool. If I wanted to add that there, but what I want to show you is reports. So I'm going to click on reports, and it says the assessment will be sent to my email. I'm going to press OK, and I can access that in my email. But what I also can do is I can look in my library, and on the lesson that we just completed, I have the option to look at all of the lessons that I've done with that NearPod lesson. So it says, oh, hey, look, you did that lesson on this day. Do you want to see the report? I do. So let's look here, and it shows PVB's work. If there were a few more answers, then it would show a little bit more. This is kind of a brief overview of what happened, but there are downloads. So when you download, you can download the whole class, or you can download one student. You can literally download all of their responses. So the PDF will show every single drawing that I've done as a student. And that's a really great resource to have. In the past, I've printed out one particular student's work in several NearPod lessons just to bring to the table at a parent conference where there was a little bit of disbelief about student performance during class. So again, I hope that my passion for NearPod is present in this video, and I hope that you can find a little bit of time to explore on this wonderful, wonderful site. And again, if you have any questions, if you want me to train you, I'm a NearPod trainer. I would love to Google Hangout with you and show you a little bit more about my favorite app. Thanks so much for watching.